Okay, we've started, Jose.
Okay.
So hello everyone. Jose and I would like to do a video on how our resources are being used, the non-essential resources, the human waste as resources, including the non-human waste resources, basically our physical resources, whether they are waste or not. And I was talking to Jose. I think it was about a month and a half ago. He told me something that was interesting. So we'll get to that at the second part of the interview here. Let me begin by saying that our resources are being used, whether it's human waste or hair follicles and so forth. That's basically what we want to talk about. Jose, so you want to say hello to the audience?
Hello, everyone.
Okay. Or should we begin with your story? Let's begin with your story since wait, hang on. Let me just make sure I'm presenting first. That I'm able to present. Okay, I'm able to
Okay.
present. I'm gonna be presenting you. All right, so we'll begin with Jose's story. What something happened with your hair follicle, right? One of your hair follicles or the company you applied for wanted to use it for something, and I found that very strange. You found that very strange as well, right?
Yeah. So there was this place called Raymond and Flanigan, and they wanted like to do a drug test. Well, now weed is illegal, right? So um, most people would say, well, it's to do a drug test, and you can't. Well, you're working with mattresses and kids, but that was kind of off to me. Why do you need my hair follicles from anywhere part of your body to test to see if I have any drugs in my system? And for me, that's just it didn't make sense because your hair, um, you know, basically you can you can do a urine test or a mouth swab, but when you're talking about using someone's hair follicles to do a drug test, it just that was a red flag for me, and I felt that that was off. Um, side note for a little bit, if you can take someone's hair follicles and cast a spell on them, or um, there were stories when I was a kid. My stepmother would tell me that if you lose your hair and let's say an animal or a bird would get it, if they lay eggs on it, you start to get headaches and migraines, and they would have to do something to remove the negativity. So for me, and I spoke to the um, psychic about this, and she said that sounds off. You said, did you say hair follicles again? She said, yeah. I said yes. So for me, I'm like, so a bunch of people tell me like, yo, you should apply to Raymond Flanigan and
Raymond and Flanigan. Raymond and
Ray,
Flanigan, correct?
Raymond and Flanigan.
Raymond. Okay, so this is a furniture company, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So many people apply to the job. They say, well, they just overlook it. But uh, I I know that you know these companies, they like, even when you're doing like they, let's say you go to get a driver's license, they always ask you like if you want to be a donor. And I know that they use body parts and stuff like that. Like even if you walk down the street, they always have like a separate bathroom, like outside bathroom, and they use your waste uh, for electricity and stuff like that. So I just felt like why, like it was so off to me that they need your hair to do a drug test. It's like little by little they take urine, they take your mouth swab, then they do what's next, blood test. Like that's just off. Like it just doesn't sound right to me. And so that's why I'm like, I don't care how much money that they pay, like what, 20 an hour. They pay decent money, but at what cost? So when I realized that what cost, I'm like, no, like I'll find another way. So what these companies are doing, um, they're setting certain rules. They'll pay you more money, but there's a price to pay for them giving you more money to work for them. And so that's why I'm like, I'm out. Like, and other people don't see it that way, but I see it, and I know that um, these companies don't give a shit about us, and the world is not a good place. So that's why I'm like, yeah, we need to make a video about this. And I told my friend, I told like the only two people that kind of thought it was strange. It was you and then the sidekick. But that everyone else is like, yeah, it's a great job. You know, they're not. It's nothing. So yeah. So that's my outlook on that. And I'm like, oh, so when I was thinking about it, why would they need my hair? I'm like, maybe for the couches because they use animal skin for clothing. So you never know. You never know. So you don't know, or they could be selling it. Um, so to make more money for the company, or they can be taking their hair and selling it to uh, labs, or because once they use your feces, do you honestly think like your urine, your blood, your DNA, do you think they just dispose of it? No, everything in the world is sold, like everything, literally everything. So that's why, for me, I'm like, I can't, I can't be a part of that.
Okay, so well, let's go into the whole poop power a little bit because I think you touch upon that. So, if I may summarize here, they're using, they want to use pretty much everything that we think is, well, I don't know. Well, at least the hair is important, right? But human
Yeah,
waste, you mentioned earlier, you literally been used against. I know I made a video about that, but
yeah.
that was,
In your last channel,
repeat that?
you made it in your last channel. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So from hair follicles to human poo, well, now we know at least some of us know that governments are using our resources from waste to hair follicles to generate energy. And I think most of us are not aware of it. I don't think most of us are aware of it, proper English. So let me show you a couple of articles that I found. I know we talked about this before and on the other channel, but some of these articles seem to be disappearing fast. So excuse me, Jose, for a second. And if you see something that you want to comment on, please do so. Let me stop presenting from your end of presenting
okay,
your image and go to my screen. Give me a second.
all right.
Okay, so the first photo that I have is loading up, and it is called Poo Power. UK firm turns human waste into clean energy. UK firm, huh? So the article goes on to say, well, the article begins with a UK power company has revolutionized the supply of gas to homes and a method that extracts energy directly from human waste. Severn Trent Water, SVT, disease claims to be the first power company in the UK to provide biomethane, biomethane gas created by breaking down the sludge and Braden's sewers. The sludge is a combination of human waste, compounds, and biodegradable matter. A cocktail of waste is then cleaned and okay, this is just nonsense. Just a flowering of the what's really going on. Basically, I have presented other articles before in the last channel of them governments using human waste to produce electricity and gas. So supposedly this is a firm, like a private institution, a private company doing this. I guarantee you, I've not provided this before, that governments are doing this on a wide scale. The U.S. government's doing it. I came upon articles, pictures that showed this, but I wish I could have saved that. I wish I would have. What's going on with my grammar? Maybe it's the medicine. In any case, uh, that is just an example. Let me show you. Wait, do you want to say anything about this before I change the screen, Jose?
Like, so every job that you go to, they always require you to do most of them drug tests or like. So the question is, how much DNA samples do you need? Like, how much of our resources that comes out of us do you need out of the human body when, like, the when you're always doing like you go to the doctor, you get a blood test, or like for example, if you are sick, like they have your DNA, right? Everything is mostly on the web. So how much do you need of the human body? So the question is, you have to ask yourself, um, what's going on, and like for example, like even if you go into the military, they make you sign something up for donate your organs. You go to the and it's like they make you think it's a great thing to like give up parts of your body parts to, but in reality, it's being sold on the black market, or um, people are using this to make clones or whatever that's going on in the world. So I think people need to be more wary about um, what's going on and not just buy into what they're feeding us and making us think that it's okay to just give up our energy away because every day you're as a human being you're fighting to keep yourself alive, especially with this CO2 19
COVID?
going on. Yeah, going on. You can die instantly depending on taking whatever. So so that's why I feel like giving away your energy diminishes uh, your health, your mental, spiritually, and everything else. Because like when we was in Peru, the shaman spoke about the auras, right? And what you put inside of your, so basically what goes in your body. So it's basically if your energy is very low, and like let's say you go to the doctor and you're constantly taking out blood, right? A lot of times people donate a lot of blood, they lose energy or they pass out. So let's say you're not at optimal health, things can enter your body, right? So parasites can enter, spiritual
Okay,
demonic.
may I stop you, please?
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure that I am understanding. When you give resources, physical resources away, whether it's hair follicles or human waste, are you, especially with the like the hair follicles, things that are not like waste materials, you're saying that will be used against you for things like cloning and to deteriorate your physical health and mental health and spiritual health? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yes.
Could you do
Because
you
your
do you
hair.
think that they're using like hair follicles and things like that to clone and copy and do things like that?
I
Copy us?
believe. I believe so. Um, because think about cloning exists, right? In
Yes, it
order to
does.
clone, in order to clone someone, or you can transfer someone's consciousness to a disk, right? In order to clone someone, you need body parts, you need DNA, you need a stock of like human feces or like material to do it. So you can't do it without having, okay, for example, the darkness cannot sustain itself without having a part of the light, without siphoning the light to use to manipulate it. So in order for them to clone, they have to have stocks of bodies around DNA, hair follicles, whatever that's accessible to them. That's why they keep asking us blood tests, urine tests,
Okay.
hair. So your head is your crown, right? So I'll get this. When I was a couple years ago, this lady, my stepmother's friend, she put her hand on my head. The moment she took her hand out of my head, from my top of my head, I started getting sick because she had dark energy in it. So when someone puts their hand on your head, that where your crown is, it can diminish if they're very negative, it can diminish your energy, making you that's why people say the top of your head is your crown, right? So everything from the head down. So basically, when you cut off all your hair, you know you can get sick, or you feel like something disappeared, or your knowledge disappeared. This is why Native Americans have long hair. This is why women have long hair
What's the
because it
wait,
helps them.
stop. What is the long hair for?
So the long hair is for having intuition, being more intuitive, more spiritual aware, and
How's that?
it's because basically it's connected. Your hair is connected to the neurons in your brain. It's an extension of your neurons, letting you have antennas to the spiritual realm, so you can.
Did you hear that? Sorry, it feels like I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
So basically, your hair is like the longer your hair is, it helps you gather information from the spiritual realm, making it receptible like antennas, like a cell phone tower or Wi-Fi, so you can
Did you
perceive.
know that the uh, the same DNA that powers cell phones, what they dig out of the ground, is the same as the DNA of the hair. So that's why it's intuition.
Oh
Did you
wow!
know in the 1960s experiments were done with Native Americans cutting off their hair versus
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you remember that?
yep. And
So
when they okay, sorry.
scientifically speaking, there's also evidence there. So so that we don't get like too far tracked, let's bring it back. So the governments are using our physical resources, whether it's hair follicles, human waste. Could we just go before we go back a little bit? We're going to focus a little bit on the human waste aspect, and then I'll speak a little bit about that. But would you like to finish what you were saying?
Um, what was it? Oh yeah. So basically, there was an experiment, and they were cut off. They was going to war or something like that. The Native Americans that had long hair, they wanted to see who was able to be able to come back home, and and the other individuals to see if they would be able to make it back. The ones that had long hair made it back, and the ones that didn't got lost because it
Tracking.
had tracking. Yeah. So this is why even for me a couple years ago, before I started growing out my hair, I had like a small afro. When I cut it all off, I noticed that like my head, something disappeared, and it caused depression. It also, I felt like I became weak. So your hair is very important. It protects your crown. It's like a shield. So if you basically you have to protect certain areas of your body so things don't penetrate or enter. And if you don't, then good luck to you. But but that's basically it.
Okay. So on the screen on the left here, I would like to present some information about the use of human waste to make gas and electricity. The first is by the New Scientist. World's first city to power its water needs with sewage energy. Okay. by Kata Karat. Kata. Okay, so the article says a city in Denmark is about to become the first in the world to provide most of its citizens with fresh water using only the energy created from household wastewater and sewage. The Marselisburg wastewater treatment plants in Arthus has undergone improvements that mean it can now generate more than 150% of the electricity needed to run the plants, which means a surplus can be used to pump drinking water around the city, as well as regularly powering the entire water system of 200,000 people living in the inner city area. Any excess electricity could be sold into the local grid. Okay, all right. They're doing this already. The United States of America is doing it throughout the states.
Oh,
Let me just
so sorry.
doing it throughout the states. How many states are doing it? Don't know, but they're doing it. I found articles talking about it. The UK is doing it. Africa is doing it. And let's 1 second, Jose. I'll let you speak in a little bit. Okay, here is another article here. Okay, biogas from human waste. Human waste offers a vast source of potential energy that is both renewable and sustainable on many levels, according to a report titled Valuing Human Waste as an Energy Resource, which was recently released by the Canadian-based United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment. Biogas from human waste has the potential to provide a source of fuel valued at up to US dollars, $9.5 billion that could provide electricity for up to 138 million homes. Doing a lot more than that. Health benefits of generating biogas. Okay, all right. We already know that it's safer, it's cleaner for the environment. They're doing it. They're doing it. Waste to wealth. Okay, waste to wealth. So often we think about things as garbage when there's no such thing as garbage. There's no such thing as garbage. Garbage is only what we identified temporarily as garbage because we don't quite understand it or we haven't given it much thought. But there are people who really do understand garbage. There is no such thing as garbage. There's no such thing as physicality. Physicality is merely a generation of the non-physical, the light level to the physical. Garbage does not exist and will never exist. Everything has consciousness, whether you believe it or not. Everything has consciousness. Even colors are alive. So these people, what they're doing, to summarize here, they're using our physical resources against us, such as hair follicles, donating blood, our blood. When you donate blood, you don't know what they're doing. You have vampires sucking it. There are people, a lot of these politicians, these elites who run these companies and so forth, and run governments, they're drinking human blood. So who knows what they do with the vast majority of the blood we donate? So things like that. And then this also applies to human waste. And human waste is being used to power houses, power streets. But yet in America, in the United States of America, we pay toll bridge taxes. So I think the tax now at the top is the bridge. It's either $4.75 or about $5 every time you go from A to B. And it's a very, very busy. Every few seconds or every second, a car goes by and pays the $5. And can you imagine how much money is in that? And that's just one bridge. You don't think that's enough money to take care of the public needs? You also need to have store taxes, and then also income tax. Well, the income tax was, as I understand it, was devised in 1913 to when the vast majority of our representatives, or so-called U.S. representative, the people representing the people, the elected officials representing the people were not present. And so it was illegally or sneakily signed into law. And hence we pay taxes, income taxes, in addition to housing taxes, in addition to store taxes, in addition. When will the nonsense stop? When will regular people, stop defending a slave system? Don't know at this point. I don't think I really. Whatever you were going to say, Jose.
So if you take a balloon, right, and or your like a shirt that's cotton, and you rub it near your hair, it creates electricity, right? If it creates electricity, that's energy, right? That same energy you can use to convert it into a light bulb. Remember in the movie The Matrix, how they said they use body heat? It creates 100 something watts of energy, and how machines are using that energy to sustain themselves. So babies were not being born; they were. I don't know how, but basically, technology becomes so advanced that in order to survive, they would harness the human body to produce electricity. So if technology can use our energy, then it's quite simple. The human body is a living current of energy, light. So each part of your body is alive, down to your toenails. So it's just mind boggling. So people need to consider things to that aspect. Like we are literally giving away our energy, our power, and they're bound to have consequences for not paying attention to the details.
Okay, so, Mr. Taxton. Okay, Jose. Let's change up the game a little bit. When the observer becomes the observed, the game must change. We're going to, with your accord, modify this interview a little bit. Are you game for changing a little bit to include God?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it. I have a little more energy. I think when I woke up, I was feeling a little like, in any event, not enough energy. Okay, so let's talk about deceptions, and then I will link it to biogas, our resource in our physical body. The way I like to do this is to ask you questions. I'm looking at my notes here. I was going to do a separate video on this, but I'm feeling like we can type this together. So
okay,
cool. Let's do it. Let's begin. I'll ask you questions, and you're the perfect person one of the best people to interview because your awareness is pretty high. Now, okay, so let's begin with deceptions. Deceptions, what are deceptions? Deception can come in many forms. Deception can come in forms of lies. Deception can come in forms of physical harm. Deception can come in forms of whatever. So what counteracts deception? Or deceptions? Truth.
Truth, yeah.
Right? So truth has layers. Layers of truth. Not everything is an opinion. Some things are really absolute for everything and everyone that ever existed and will ever exist, because you are everything that has ever existed and will ever exist. Jose is everything that has ever existed and will ever exist. That's what I was told when I was crossing over, leaving the so-called universe, a circle-like disk in the center of infinite space. And I was told this over and over again. So therefore, I'm trusting intuition. So is everything merely an opinion, Jose?
No, that's not true. I think.
Are there
what's that?
Layers of truth?
Yes, there are. There are layers of truth.
If someone were describing the physical world, could that person be biased?
Yes, they can.
Can that person also be telling bits and pieces of truth?
Yes.
Okay, can that person the person can choose to tell the whole entire truth?
Yes, they can.
Even though it may be painted, it may be shown from that person's vocal cords, that person's facial expressions, but the outcome could be the truth, the absolute truth. It's possible.
Yes.
Even though I don't think it happens often.
True.
So with that said, What do you think about religions? Are religions absolute truth?
No, I don't. Religion have some truths, but it's not absolute because
Could you
if it
list
was,
some religions?
what's that?
Could you list some religions for me, please?
Yeah, there's Christianity, Judaism, um, uh, what else?
Is
I think
atheism a religion?
yes, yes.
Why is it a religion?
Because they don't think because they follow certain practices and they don't believe there's a God or anything. But that and well, because they don't believe there's a God or anything, they have to come back and reincarnate because the system is set up in the way that it will make you or program you to believe in something, to be stuck. So even atheism is a belief system. It's a belief system that keeps because it doesn't give you the whole picture. It only gives you piece of it gives you lies. Yeah.
So atheism is a form. I'm summarizing and I'm trying to put it into my own words. If I'm not doing it right, you can let me know. So atheism, you said, is focusing on small elements of what they see, what those
Yes.
see. And so when you are
In Catholic, I think
when you
that's
have
the
like blinders on, then you see just that limitation. Is that correct?
yes.
Atheism claims there's no God, correct?
Yes.
Is there a God?
There's a source. I wouldn't
Thank
use the
you.
word. I wouldn't use God because it means dog and backwards, and it's like I think it's like disrespectful because like I never liked the word. It just feels like God. Like it just for me when I was younger in my chest, it just felt wrong. And like people say, don't use the word God, but it's spelled dog backwards. I don't get it. So
So
I it's like if something's so beautiful and so glorious or so delicate, why disrespect the name of it, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And calling it a dog, it's not a dog. So call it for what it is,
okay,
right?
all right. Let's atheism. Okay, so let's keep going with that. So I think what atheists have a problem with is the fact that, okay, when you were just talking out, what I picked up from you is the fact that it didn't feel right because you're being told it's like a salad, a bunch of good things with a bunch of bad things. It didn't feel right because you're feeling the lies. You're feeling the
Yeah.
lie, deception, and religion. And I said before, things will get so bad that most people will need a religion, even though it's not going to take them all the way. At least it will provide a form of belief, uh, respite from that's you.
What?
But
Sorry, I
that
can barely
sounded,
hear. Like
what
it's
is
coming
that
in and
like?
out.
Okay, all right. Let's continue.
Like the sound. Okay.
So I think what atheists have a problem with is that deception. Jose, what's going on? All right.
Sorry. So where I live, that's like the firefighters. They always make sounds in the back. Like I don't
All
know.
right.
They always have
So
this big horn.
if it comes on, just mute it. This video could be just mute it for a little bit. When I'm done talking, you can put it back on.
Okay. Wait. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So as you try to mute it, okay, I don't hear anything now. That's good. That's what atheists have a problem with, right? They focus on the fact that religion or religions are lying to them. A part of religion is lying to them. So therefore, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the religious person, the scientific person, might like hold on to science so tightly because it's the same reason. But with wider and more comprehensive and more logical. I'm gonna use the word logical here because sometimes it doesn't matter what you feel. You got to go higher logic with higher feelings, and you would understand
Yeah.
there is more because you don't have. If you don't have the overall picture, you're not going to be able to get out of the religion you're in. And as long as you have religion, you're not going to the universe. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have minor elements of it, then your source will meet you um, away on the way to get you out of it. But if the religion is so ingrained, then you're not going to get out of it. So that's atheism. Now that we know a lot of things in the world. This is how I do my videos. I do piece by piece, and then we get to the conclusion, people. So just bear with us. We started out by talking about human waste and hair follicles. Wait, Jose, I don't want to be all over the place. I want to make sure that we're focusing it. So
Okay.
hair follicles, human waste, things being used against us, and we are still paying to be slaves when it is our resources, including poop, that are being used, and they sell it right back to us. So with that, we went in to start talking about deceptions, which relate to what we talked about in the first place about the poop and so forth. Now we tied in religions. Now let's delve into God. What are you going to say?
I was going to say Hinduism. And yeah, I'm just trying to remember some of the religions. Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote here, do lies hurt?
Oh, it
Lies,
does.
they
It
do.
does.
So
hmm
lies hurt. They do hurt.
They do. Yes,
Why?
they do.
Why? 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 Give me a reason.
Lies hurt because it can it can actually kill someone. It can actually you can actually be living a lie your whole life, and when you wake out of it, there can be a lot of suffering, right?
Okay, that's
So
the outcome.
the
They,
uh,
all right, let me present it another way. They hurt because they're not real.
okay, okay, got
Lies hurt because they're not real. We're living in fakeness. The universe is not real. We're living in fakeness, and so there must be some pain and pretense,
yeah,
which will lead to death, quote unquote death, as you mentioned.
and like last night, I was like, so what came up, like the games we play, but we don't want to pay. We don't want to pay for the suffering, so we keep lying. We keep doing the same thing,
Okay.
but you're bound to suffer. There's bound to be consequences.
Okay, there are bound to be consequences if you stay in lies.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so lies are not real.
Mm-mm.
Lies are made up.
Yes.
A
Illusions.
deviation from that which is everlasting.
Yes. You can say
And
that.
only the light in our bodies and light in general, spiritual, is real.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so far so good?
So yeah.
All right, so anything that's not real is anything okay, if we're perceiving it as physical, it's not real
True. That's
because it's our
true.
senses that are it is our minds consciousness our the immediate consciousness that's rendering as physical, just a sense, the five senses. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the world is not physical, the universe is not physical, it's really a static perception we're perceiving as a physical world. So the last video that I made with the guy, interviewee, says something about the afterlife is physical. he can feel that. It's physical, as we went over. So if the physical isn't really physical, is money physical?
No, it's not. Money is not
Is
physical.
is a chair in its absolute really physical?
No.
All right. So
It's,
if nothing is really physical and everything that's truly real is light, then can thoughts, here's the next question, can thoughts become physical things?
yes, it can. Yes, it can. Thoughts can become physical. Yes, it can.
Please, Jose, take the floor. Talk about what you told me about um, the books, my books, and
Oh,
information.
so
That's it.
when
The
I
others.
so your books. So when I first started reading your book, the first one, I was having difficulty. But then when I just, like took the time to force myself, and I started reading, I'm like, whoa. Then so the more I read it, I saw myself going into the book, and then I saw like a different dimension, and I saw people like I saw how the book was helping people like
Okay,
entering
Jose.
different dimensions.
Okay, all right. Okay. I want you to focus that on how, like, you talked about the pulling information out of thin air. Can you go into that specifically?
Oh, so basically, I'm trying to remember. That's been a while. I so because everything is alive. Basically, it's like you know how you have a projection on the wall, like, but it's not. It's coming from your phone. Basically, you can take your hand and take information from the air. It's like breathing. It's not the more awareness you have, because I don't remember. It's been a while. The more awareness you have, you can tap into different frequencies and pull information. It's like a signal or a broadcast, and you can hear different realms, what's going on, or you can perceive different things, or you can tap
Okay.
into the universe and take
Yes, it's not
information.
helping me. I need specifics. 'Cause remember, I'm very concrete and
Uh,
visual sometimes. So how do you pull
um,
things out of physical air? How does like information from the books, how does that travel? How is it that you can pull information out of thin air?
I
Give
don't.
me visuals. Give me something to understand.
Um, I, I, I felt like for me, I reached a different level of awareness, and it was like, okay, so it started like sound was not real, and
Wait. Sound is
it's
not
like
what?
real.
Okay.
Sound is not it's not real. It's just a manipulation of it's like of your voice, like do, me, re, fa, so. Like you manipulate, like to talk, you have to manipulate the frequency. It's hard to explain. I wrote it in my
Sound
book,
is
but I
not
lost it.
real.
Sound is not
That's a new one for me.
like sound
All right.
is not like sound is not really real. It's just it.
It's a, wait. I can't go too fast because I'm trying to understand. I have to digest the information. You're going too fast,
Okay,
Jose. Slow down.
okay.
So sound is not real. Does that mean sound is part of the senses? Well, it is, isn't it? So the
Yeah.
sense.
So sound is not real. Words are not really real. It's made up. The
Mm,
last the last when I took Iboga, and I was like, whoa, like this cannot be freaking real. Like when I came back from Peru, and basically it was like so it was like the manipulation of the DNA. It was like I was in the realm and like it's like because you exist, you can tap into different forms of yourself, and basically everything is manipulation. To you have to manipulate things to reform it to create something. It's hard to explain it, but in order for physicality to exist or anything, you have to manipulate it, and it changes form to coexist in the physical realm. So nothing.
Okay. So things, physical thoughts become physical things. So thoughts can become physical things. Did you say yes or no?
Yes, they can,
Okay.
because
So
if because nothing is really physical, right? And because nothing is really physical, your thoughts become alive because it's a part of you. And because all right, so because this world is not real, your thoughts can. Okay, the book. I was writing something, right? And because your words are not real, it can seep through the book. It can flow through the pages. It can flow through the table because everything is essence. And the more powerful the words are, the more powerful it is. It can flow through the walls, through dimensions, and people can sense and feel that presence of energy. So once
okay.
you reach that level,
So if it's infused with enough truth, then in a way it's more alive than before.
yes. So then the words become so powerful, you can feel it in the air. So you can take the, and if you can perceive it, you can grab the information and use it for yourself. So the information becomes so powerful, it's in the air. It's the trees can take it. Anything can perceive it if they have
Okay.
higher enough awareness.
When you first told me that, so by the way, I'm still not completely clear how that works, but I do believe you. Um, I This is what I thought about. I thought, well, we send messages via cell phones from point A to point B, and the message is not physical to begin with, but it travels through the air. So it is
Yeah.
possible, even though I don't fully understand it at this point. So, but the idea that thoughts can become real, meaning thoughts can become physical things, okay, let's keep the word real in perspective, is something that I picked up. Um, my clear audio sense has sharpened, as you know. So I caught that right away. Wow, that was so that blew away my mind a little bit. And then I was able to consider other things like thoughts becoming physical things. I was watching someone talk about it in a near-death experience. Thoughts becoming physical things. So the entire physical world is not real, and we're being manipulated to think it's okay. Real. It's not everlasting. It's just made up. Then it can change,
Yeah.
right? So thoughts slash prayers slash whatever is put out there in vocal form, or I don't know, meditation can
With
become
with enough,
physical things.
yes, with
Yes.
enough energy, with enough,
So okay, so a physical being, are you really a physical being then? I think we basically went over that. Or a
no,
being.
I'm not physical. Well,
Really?
you perceive me as physical, but I'm not really physical.
Okay. So the next question is, so nothing is really physical.
True. That's true. Nothing's really physical.
The entire universe.
It's not physical.
So this is the next element of the question. Can a seed become a tree?
Yeah. Yes, it can. Yes, it
Can an
can.
apple seed become an apple tree?
Yes, it can. In fact,
Is
if
this
it wanted to, oh,
is a seed as powerful as an apple tree? Is an apple seed as powerful as an apple tree?
yes, it is. Yes, it
How's
can.
that?
It can be because it depends what's inside. Because it
Okay,
depends
meaning
on
like eventually it has the same potential, just doesn't quite have it yet. I mean, it hasn't manifested it.
yes, just because
So
it
so it
is
depends how
capable.
you look at it.
Yeah. Yes. You can't like like you said, trash. You perceive trash as trash, but what if that trash can actually turn into gold? So it's yeah, it all depends on how much love it's inside. It's what's inside
What is this whole
that.
thing we keep talking about love, Jose? What is that?
What do you
Entertain me.
mean?
I don't know what you mean
Um,
when you said love.
um, it's how do I put this? So okay, let's say you
Stop.
see a kid.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's say you see a kid. The kid is going to school, right? Everyone, most of his life, the kid was mistreated or doubted on or whatever. But the kid never gave up. And one day, the kid comes across someone, and as most people see that little kid probably map to nothing. So most people see that kid as worthless. But that kid, through his perseverance, through not giving up on himself, through sheer will, he overcomes the obstacles. And those who have hurt him, he or she is the one to help those. Basically, that kid becomes the leader. So that kid, through a deeper sense of love, is like something that comes within, something that propels you to dig deep within yourself to find the strength or pull out the light that's inside to shine bright. I think,
It almost sounds like you're saying light is love.
yeah, yes, yes,
And that which is not light is not love.
true.
I don't know. That's what I'm picking up.
Like,
So
like,
isn't it? It sounds like you struggle to define love. Isn't love a bit difficult to define?
yeah,
Yeah, because it's a big
yes,
picture. It's a big picture
yeah,
idea. Because love, like if you want to define it, you can look at it globally, generally, or an overall picture. It's light. Anything that produces an overall positivity for the entirety of what exists. And so somebody eating a fish might be love if that person has given up meat because that person is progressing. So that person is showing more self-care.
yeah,
So could we so everything has potential, but yet people are bowing down to entities and so-called small letter G's. That's what
yeah,
I see. If it's not Buddha, it's Jesus Christ. If it's not Jesus Christ, it is science. It's this and that. Okay, no wonder why the afterlife is full of deception. If you listen to this now and you're upset, that's too bad. Okay, we're not can't keep
okay,
watering this down and babying people. The bonus rounds have begun. So now we're going to conclude. I'm going to conclude here by asking you a question. How is it And I don't intend for us to be able to give a complete answer, but I would like us to look at an overall answer. So given that everything is alive from your poop to your urine and it can be recycled, turned into new ways of energy, and deceptions are what keeps things from reaching their potentials, then what is light? I mean, what are you? How is it? Here's a better question. How is it that 1 + 1 is ultimately 1?
Oh, that's simple. 1 + 1 is ultimately 1 because it doesn't matter what you look like, what shape, what form you take. I am you and you are me. Regardless of what decisions you have made, it's irrelevant. In the end, we all came from the same place. So one, if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself because
How's that?
I'm bound to feel that pain
How's that?
because it's quite because I am you and don't you okay. In order for me to learn my lessons, I must feel that pain. I don't need to feel the pain, but I must, so I will not repeat that again.
Okay, for the
So
audience,
in
let me go ahead, finish your thought.
so so 1 + 1 = 1 because if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. And in order for me to learn my lesson, I must feel that pain so I will not repeat it again. So that is necessary so you don't keep repeating the same mistakes. So 1 + 1 will always equal 1 because in the end we all come together as one. Because it's like how do I explain? A deeper sense of love requires you to return. A deeper sense of love requires you to come back
Return to
to the
what?
whole.
To the whole,
Return to the whole. Yeah,
to
return to the
source,
whole. Yeah,
to source
source,
consciousness, what people
source.
call God. Okay.
Yes. So a deeper sense of love requires you to because how about this? Okay, so let's say 1 + 1. Let's say 1 + 1 equals 2. Plus 2 equals what? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So look at your essence. Look at your body, right? If you cut those pieces, body parts into pieces, how can it return back to the source or back to its full form if they're in pieces? It can't. It's fractured. Is source in pieces in the sense of the grand light? No, it's not possible. It's not feasible. So it must. So all those pieces must come back together so it can be strong again as one. So in order for anything or everything to okay, let's do it. I'll say it like this. When there's a crisis, right? How do we overcome the problem? When we come together as one, right? Regardless of what we're going through, or regardless of our issues, somehow we figure out the only way to get through this is together. It's the same thing. So basically, 1 + 1 will always equal 1 because in the beginning there was only 1, and if you keep separating ourselves, that's wrong. That's where pain comes in because we
Okay,
wasn't
Jose.
meant to be suffering. Yeah.
I I have an overall picture of certain things, of source, of everything being equal and its potential. I I was born with that knowledge, and that knowledge was tainted, but now it has become stronger. But I still struggle with the chicken and the egg because I know the chicken and the egg dilemma doesn't exist because it's only a physical world. But my mind, or I don't have enough information. So I would like to add to what you said in this way, okay?
Okay.
This is what I've gotten. So I'll share it from this perspective. This is what I've gotten from 1 + 1 is 1. Okay. 1 + 1 could be 2 if you're looking at it from a limited perspective. It could be 3 or 4 or 5. But let's look at the grand big picture of 1 + 1 is equal to 1, and we'll tie it back into what God really is. So, have you ever had an out of body? So, give me short answers. Have you ever had an out of body experience
Yes, I have. Many
where you
times.
saw your whole entire light?
Yeah, I have. Like when in my
Okay.
body,
Were you
astral
able to
travel.
pinpoint like the Jose now within that light?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes. Like
so same thing happened to me in 2009. When a non-physical thing turned physical in my bed, dark entity that was extracted from my body, and I wanted to get back into my body and took the form of you know who, book one. And when my source self came out of the body without question, without hesitation, boom, out to pull out weapons. And at that moment, I was aware of exactly where the part of the light, the piece, the element of the light that I was within the overall light. So I think, I think, or at least it helps me to understand a little bit more of the fact that 1 + 1 is 1, because it's like if you imagine a huge light, a column of light, or you can put it talk in terms of a column of light, or it doesn't matter, right? So each of us is just a piece of that within that whole light. And within that whole light, when my light came out, and the source self decided, okay, so that source self overrided, yeah, my element of light, and I was in accord with my source self because I was like, yeah, we're about to kick some butt. Seriously, I was like, finally, it's about time. I'll tell you this before I go on any further. That is one of the reasons why I've made certain decisions recently about love. You will understand later when you read the book. And Jose's like, he's doing what? After all that happened, he's doing what? You will understand. You're going to appreciate book 6 because you're in it. I'm putting a bunch of your stories in, and you want to find out what it is. In any case, there was just a point in that light that I
what?
was smiling and everything. Yeah, this entity things that come into this room, and like I'm the only, like that little element of me is the only one fighting to like stay awake, and while Source was watching what I would do. So element knew element was aware of what Source was doing. So I have 1 + 1 for me, I understand it. But the details of like how did the universe start and those questions is that's what's still like that those questions are still forms of questions are still like I'm still heading into the chicken and the egg question. So what I do understand is that people keep giving their powers away, right? They give their power away by bowing down to superior beings. Again, that is not to say that source isn't real. Source is the only real thing there is, but you are source consciousness. You've been giving your power away for so long. So therefore, at the top of the ladder, so that those beings at the top, they have more power than you because they've embraced unconditional love to its full max, full potential. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I think if you want to say anything else, then we can add at this point, and then summarize and call it a day.
Uh, yeah. I would say every time one reincarnates, they come in with less and less energy, and
Yes, yes.
so basically, to do the simple task, you're gonna have difficulties functioning because there's so much darkness in the body. So because, like I said, you've been used, abused, and siphoned for so freaking long. Um, this is where people, in desperation and hope, give away their power because they're so weak that anything that comes across, they will just jump to it because they don't know who they are, right? And this is what these entities are banking on because they've been around for a long time, and so this is why the world is the way it is. But one must take the hard path, and only then you will rise. So
All right. So
that's
I was going to say, but then I forgot. You were talking, and I was going to add. Every time you do something, everything is recorded within your own soul. It's not an exterior force. It's not quote unquote God that's recording it. It is you. Your light is recording your source. If you want to call your source that, that's fine. It's your source recording it. And because things, thoughts, and feelings can become physical, trauma can become physical and wear you down physically. And everything, whatever you take in, whether physical or non-physical, it's not for punishment. It's you put it there. Now, if you want to feel better, you have to get rid of it. You have to undo it or cleanse it or change it, alter it. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, so alter it for the better. So you have to go through it, the cleansing process, to alter the energy. Somebody else can do it for you, but it's not really that meaningful if you don't take care of your own problems. By taking care of your own problems, you own it. So when you were talking about like you have to go through the pain, yeah, you have to clean up your mess, and you can have help if it's too much. But there comes a point that there's so much mess you've created that, well, you're gonna have to face quite a lot of pain. It's not for punishment. It's just because this is what you put in. It's now part of you. And the
yeah.
reincarnation trap is nothing more than just beings trying to survive, so-called highly evolved being trying to survive, trying to avoid unimaginable. How many times can I say that? Unimaginable pain. So
Mhm.
they're very intelligent to a limited perspective, but that's all they're doing through the reincarnation tribe, the soul tribe. They set up an elaborate um, system to deceive people. So, to talk about like human waste being used against us, and we're here still, favoring the paying of taxes and countries. Let me see if I have. I know I pulled up countries in Africa who are also doing this. Let's see. Okay, so there are definitely cities in Africa doing this now with the biogas. It's not even gas anymore. We don't have to pay electricity, aren't you? We don't have time. We don't have time to accomplish our missions because we are busy with the systemic activities that keep us busy so that we don't remember, right? So
Yeah.
it's natural forces, even our poop, use it against us and say, "Here, you pay for it." It's a huge. It's not just this planet; it's all planets. Okay, a few have escaped, and I've seen one. But
They
it.
even use
Go ahead. Go ahead.
they even use urine in your hair products, hair, skin,
Yeah,
nail
I mean
products.
lipstick. Lipstick has like some weird stuff. What's in lipstick? Some insect dye or something?
Yeah,
Insect
yeah.
color. They use insect juice or powder in um, vegetarian food. So you got to read that carefully. Whenever you see anything related to carmine or insect, is it carmine insect? I don't. You can check that out yourself. Carmine, Carmine. Yeah, dude. If you think you're vegetarian or you're vegan, you go to McDonald's. You order.
I would never go to McDonald's and say if I'm a vegetarian. Like, not go to McDonald's. I'm a vegetarian. I go to McDonald's.
I go to McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi. That's all I go to McDonald's for.
No, but like, if you would say okay, it's like someone turning into a vegetarian, right? And they're going to McDonald's every day and say, I'm eating the vegetarian meal. I'll be like, yo, I bet you probably might need to do a recheck, bro. Like, I'm just like, it would be hilarious.
So, is there anything we could do about all these problems? Like, in terms of like the poop, taking resources from us, the hair follicles, the reincarnation trap seems obvious enough to me to resolve.
I feel like if people start speaking out about it, they would stop, but they just accept it. So it's like, because most people are brainwashed, they really believe that, oh, I need to get this test done, but they don't see nothing. Like, so that's why it keeps going on, because they actually believe it. They really believe it. They don't question that, oh, this company is doing something wrong with it. And like me saying something about it, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, so that's
speaking up,
we'll do something about it.
Okay. So sharing information.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing information, yeah. Okay. And also knowing the truth within yourself, I think, and not lying to yourself. One of the worst things you can do, even if you don't speak up, one of the worst things you can do is lie to yourself, creating systems of lies in your head. And okay, so I think the last thing I'd like to say is that there was a question about, or a comment about the reincarnation trap, and this person said that he doesn't know what to do, tell people where to go if they're avoiding the tunnel of light. Well, my answer is that you gotta have. This is like one of the few times I use words like faith and trust. Well, trust, I have no problem with. Faith, I do I see a religious tone to it. So the only person you can absolutely trust 100% is your source self. So your self is never going to do things to harm you. So you don't need to look out there for an exterior light, an exterior vortex, an exterior tunnel of light, white light, to deceive you. It's your light would just automatically take you up to start taking you. When you begin to doubt and you begin to I want to go there, that's when your light lets you have what you want to do. But if you trust your light, then you'll be guided by the source much sooner. Everything is possible in source. Okay? Everything is possible. Memory recall of this and that, if that's what you want. I remember when I was ascending up source, I was looking for my brother within source. As it was my brother. Source had agreed to let me return with my brother because of all the people who he is the only one that I know of who has loved me unconditionally.
Wow.
And no, I mean, and I wish I would show him a little more love while he was alive. But until you lose something or someone, or until you take ownership of the things you have and the people you have, and you show interests, well, it's only later that you realize that, listen, man, it can hurt when you lose that thing or someone. So, but that was enough. That was enough. That's enough. That was enough to get me through the summer. Remember how horrible it was? Plus, other little bits and pieces of the people around me, including you. But that would be revealed in book 5. I can't give away all the little pieces. The writer must keep the certain things hidden until the book is revealed, right? So, hey, so you got to trust yourself to navigate back to help you get back to source. And it's not something you need to worry about or come up with a plan. When I was, I think it was 2013, I wanted to see what was out there in the physical world. Entity rushed to me. I didn't see a tunnel of light because I was beyond that. I knew that I was not trusting the tunnel of light. So the tunnel of light didn't appear because the beings knew that this was not going to be someone. They didn't even anticipate me coming out. So they rushed like two entities, two dark beings to rush to me and fear. And that was all I could remember. But then later, I tried again and again until I exited the universe and saw for myself where source was. And then I had other things happen. So I'm done sharing everything that I want to share. Unless you have anything else, we'll call it quit. We'll call it quits.
So basically, so if one does not choose to listen to that light, when you are reincarnating, you will be shown like your life basically, and your light will come to a point of forcing you to take responsibility of your actions, and you'll be forced to change. So it's like, so basically you're gonna go through pain, but it needs to happen because if your higher self doesn't step in or something doesn't step in, a lot of people are not going to change. So basically they're going to have a reality check. This is what
That's a
your
good
source.
expression. Reality check.
I'm telling you, that reality check is not good, man. Like, yeah, and being forced to incarnate in a life that you don't want to like live, but you have to in order to like learn the lessons, like to change. So, and that's what people are avoiding. They don't want to change, and they don't want to love. They don't want to do it, and so this is why things are the way it is. And I in Peru, and I remembering like before I came, how I was
Before you came
forced.
to the universe or before you came to this planet? What do you mean?
Um, uh, uh, I think it was this lifetime, this lifetime. I was forced because I kept making mistakes, and this lifetime I was forced uh, to go through these experiences because I didn't want to come,
Also,
but
you mean you didn't have enough power to resist?
yeah, and I was forced, and I was told you have to go through this because you was not listening. You didn't. So you have to go through these things. Um, so you will learn. So, and that's just how it goes. Because souls will just keep repeating. They don't care until they are forced to change, and it's gonna hurt. So it's better to change sooner than later, because later it's gonna be much more difficult,
Okay.
and you're not gonna have the same opportunities. So
Okay,
let's say
but
you have some.
okay, go ahead.
So let's say you come down, right? And you have let's say you have a soul group, or you have friends or whoever, who is trying to help you, or actually is helping you to rise. If you refuse to listen and they leave you behind, and a bunch of them are returning, and you are left behind, the level of suffering you will endure is necessary because you brought that on yourself because you didn't want to listen. So it's bound. You're bound to run into problems because every time a source player returns, they will never have another one like that ever again. So
So
the more and more,
each person is unique.
yes,
So
each,
within source, and we're just pieces of source. Okay, so but I want to the audience, whoever's listening, I want to say something hope, if you like. So it's you describe a situation of unimaginable pain, but I would like to say that it doesn't have to be that way. That if you're making incremental change, then you can take the pain little by little, and it become easier to manage it, or not easier, but it would be easier to manage it if you are improving. But if you want to jump from point A to point Z, then well, it's going to hurt a lot. So whatever you are, even if it's going to hurt a lot, you can still manage to reduce the darkness little by little through positive self-care. Okay, Jose, I think we need to end this video. It's getting too long.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this. I'll put it up in about an hour. It needs to load first. And
Okay.
thank you for doing it. And again, people, you do have a choice. Love is not ultimately, love is not a choice. Temporarily, it's a decision.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's the only decision.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Source speed.